as we wrap up 2025, it turns out many of those bold economic predictions made throughout the year didn't quite play out the way many people expected. Hindsight is 2020, as always. And as the year comes to a close, those forecasts are getting a second look.
Yeah, let's bring in our chief business correspondent, Taylor Young. And Taylor, looking back, this year was full of twists and turns.
It really was. So 2025 was a really good reminder that the economy loves to surprise us, right? So there was really nothing predictable about this year. And look, I mean, we saw a change in administration from Democratic to Republican. That, of course, will come with its own set of policy changes. But also keep in mind, 5 years later, I mean, we're still kind of rebounding from a global pandemic, and that has continued to throw a massive wrench into the economy. So, you know, that uncertainty has led to a lot of bold forecasts that didn't quite pan out. So what were some of those predictions? There were thoughts that we would see major price hikes tied to tariffs potentially, you know, with high inflation. That, of course, did not happen the way and pan out the way people expected. Another is we'd possibly enter a recession. I remember around this time last year, there were several economists who put the chances of entering a recession at 60% for this year. That, of course, also did not happen. The housing market was going to crash. Interest rates would plummet. And on the technology side, a lot of us thought we were going to be losing our most popular social media app, TikTok. That's still around. We're all still using that. And I think one of the biggest ones kind of going into 2025 was that AI was going to take our jobs and potentially wipe out entire industries. As we know, that also did not happen, although that concern is still there as we enter the new year. But, you know, in hindsight, a lot of these predictions really didn't kind of pan out the way people thought they were.
And I even forgot about TikTok even being almost not a thing anymore. But so let's talk about those extreme predictions that really have an impact. So like mortgage rates plummeting. I think a lot of people really wanted that. Tariff-driven inflation. Why didn't those really kind of play out the way that economists expected?
Yeah, so let's start off with the mortgage rates. I mean, many people did expect the Federal Reserve to make aggressive cuts this year. But when we look back, you know, the largest cut we saw this year was 25 basis points. And the Fed really kind of operated more cautiously. We know that there was push, at least from this administration, to make those cuts more aggressive. That did not happen. We do know the Fed is changing hands in coming weeks, so that could be something that could change. And again, will be something we'll be keeping an eye on. As for tariff inflations, you know, in a lot of cases, the system just adjusted. If you remember in the beginning of the year, there were a lot of headlines of everything's going to be more expensive. But what happened is a lot of businesses ended up just absorbing a lot of those costs. And consumers also changed their behavior, really. More people buying made in the USA, or retailers also kind of changing where they're buying their products from. So instead of a sudden change that I think many people were expecting, it's more muted, it's slower. I know I keep saying this, but something that we will also be keeping an eye on as we enter 2026.
And Taylor, you talked about this a little bit, but the one big fear was people losing their job to AI, and that really didn't come to fruition. But is it something that people should be worried about in 2026?
So there's no doubt that AI has changed the workforce, right? It changed the way people work. It changed the way people apply for jobs, how they interview for jobs. But as we know, it did not just replace people overnight. Companies actually started relying on AI to kind of speed things up and fill in gaps and not eliminate roles. I think that is a trend that we will continue to see. Look, technology, yes, we see these advancements coming out left and right, but the technology does not change an entire economy, entire industries like that within 1 year. I think we will continue to see changes, just not as drastic and not as quick as people think.
Like a slow trickle. Okay, so when we look back at 2025, what's the big takeaway for people who watch all of these predictions, especially as we head into a new year where we're going to get more predictions?
Yeah, more predictions. And social media just kind of makes this amplified, right? Because you see a lot of people, even on the TikTok app, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. But I think the biggest lesson is that the economy does not really go to extremes overnight like what some people think they do. I mean, things can be difficult, and they are for a lot of families, but sudden collapses, sudden changes, again, don't just happen that quickly. I think the economy moves more so in shades of gray rather than in white and black. So keep that in mind when you see headlines of this is going to happen this year. Yes, economists, they study this for their whole lives, but no one actually knows exactly what's going to happen. We just have to follow it. We have government data coming out every month. yeah, there was a lot of predictions, but not all of them, not all the bad ones happened.
All right, so just take everything that you see on social media with a grain of salt.
Yes, absolutely.
As always. All right, Taylor, thank you.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.